Hello and welcome to another episode of Chargerscast. We're a fan-based podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers. I'm your host, Kirk Brewer. I'm a San Diego native and have been a Chargers fan since 1978. And as a longtime fan for over 4 decades, I'm here to bring you a unique perspective about our Los Angeles Chargers. There's a lot to talk about since the last episode, so let's go ahead and get started. The draft has come and gone. All of the pundits, draft experts, fans, and podcasters were all giving their opinion of who the Chargers should draft or who they were going to draft in the days and weeks leading up to the draft. And then these same people were all over the place immediately following the draft, giving their post-draft analysis and grades. Here at the Chargerscast, we chose to sit back, stay out of all the noise, and let the results of the draft sink in before giving our thoughts and analysis. So now the draft is a month behind us, and we've had a chance to digest it. So let's go ahead and get into it. First off, there were no blockbuster trades involving the Chargers' 5th overall pick. So who did they select? We all know that by now. In the first round, they selected at number 5, Joe Alt, the consensus overall number 1 tackle in the draft from Notre Dame. In round 2, the Chargers traded up 2 spots, I believe it was, to draft wide receiver Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. In the 3rd round, the Chargers chose Junior Colson, one of Harbaugh's guys, linebacker out of Michigan. And in the 4th round, Justin Igboibe, I hope I didn't butcher that too bad, defensive tackle from Alabama. In round 5, Chargers selected Tarheeb Steele, cornerback from Maryland. And also in round 5, they selected Cam Hart, cornerback, Notre Dame. In round 6, the Chargers selected Kimani Vidal, running back out of Troy. And in round 7, the Chargers selected 2 more wide receivers. Brendan Rice, wide receiver out of USC, and Cornelius Johnson, wide receiver out of Michigan. So let's go back and talk about these guys a little bit and fill in some of the details. Like I said, leading up to the draft, all of the fans and pundits and podcasts, and of course everybody who makes up all of those mock drafts was giving their opinions on who they thought the Chargers were going to draft at number 5 overall. My personal opinion was, seeing who Harbaugh is and Harbaugh's history, one of 2 things were going to take place. Number 1, the Chargers really would like to have traded back out of number 5, gotten a few more picks, and still selected one of the big tackles in the draft. The high-end tackles were pretty well loaded there in the top half of the draft. A lot of the fanboys, as I like to call them, maybe the younger fans who, they don't really know the game of football and how championships are won, seems they were pretty upset that we let go of Mike Williams and we traded Keenan. And rightfully so, right? Those guys were mainstays in the Bolts receiving corps, both wide receivers 1 and 2, or 1A and 1B. And so those guys were pushing for Malik Neighbors was the big one, thinking that Marvin Harrison Jr. would already be off the board. On social media like Instagram, which, by the way, if you don't follow Chargerscast on Instagram, go to Instagram. You'll find us at Chargerscast. But I saw on Instagram in particular, a lot of these fanboys really pushing hard for Malik Neighbors. And my opinion was, if we couldn't trade back from number 5 and get what Harbaugh and Ortiz were looking for, then the only way we were going to take a wide receiver at number 5 was if Marvin Harrison Jr. was still on the board. When Harrison went number 4 to the Cardinals, then the Chargers had a choice: take a trade back or select there in that spot. And it was my opinion, if they couldn't get what they wanted to trade back, they were going to take a tackle. Now, I didn't know exactly who they were going to take at tackle. I think there were a couple options for them based on the fact that they were looking to place this tackle that they were going to draft at right tackle and leave Rashawn Slater over at left. And so, as we all know, the Chargers went ahead with the number 5 pick and selected Joe Alt, the massive tackle out of Notre Dame. He was a consensus number 1 tackle in the draft. According to the Chargers, Harbaugh and Ortiz, they were never given a trade offer that was to their liking, that was worthwhile to trade off the 5th pick. In other words, the value of what they were going to get at number 5, taking a player versus trading back. And so they selected Alt, and they adamantly insist that Alt was the number 1 player on their board. And so here we sit with this massive 6'9", 320-pound tackle who's 21 years old, that is going to be a bookend mainstay on the Chargers line for probably the next decade. So here we have Justin Herbert with bookend first-round tackles to protect him. Keep guys like Max Crosby off of him, where Trey Pipkins just could not defend Max Crosby and was a freaking turnstile. So now Justin's got bookend tackles, which is going to be awesome. So for all of you guys out there that were wanting a wide receiver, understand that Justin is so good at quarterback, and it is so hard for defensive backs to guard receivers for more than 3 seconds, that with the offensive line being shored up, especially at the tackle positions, Justin is going to have more time to find open receivers, and the receivers are going to have more time to get open. So this is huge. It is absolutely huge. Joe Alt is way more valuable than even Marvin Harrison is going to be way more valuable to Justin than simply a wide receiver, because the running game is also going to be a huge asset for Justin, taking pressure off of him and pounding the football. And so this line, I am excited to see. It's been so long since we've had a stud line. I mean, literally, let's go back to Marcus McNeil, Dealman, and Hardwick on the left side of the Chargers line back during Marty days, which I'm wearing my Marty Era Chargers hat here to celebrate this. We are going to ground and pound. It's going to be power right, power left, power up the middle with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. And maybe Kamani Vidal, who we'll be talking about a little bit later. So A+, absolute A+ for the pick with Joe Alt. This kid is a stud, and he is going to make Justin's life easier. 6'9", 320 pounds. And the kid's young, so he's going to be around a long time. In the second round, the Chargers traded up a couple picks to snag Ladd McConkey from Georgia. Ladd is, I believe he's 6 foot and 190, 200 pounds, something like that. if I am not mistaken. 6 foot, 190 pounds. And the guy runs high 4.3s. And so this is a great pick. Is he the consensus, of those top 3 wide receivers in this year's draft? No, he is not. But the kid runs 4.3. Watch him catch. He's got incredible hands. He does not let the ball get into his body. He catches everything with his hands, and his route running is phenomenal. So this kid is going to be able to get separation, get open, and I suspect by the end of the first quarter of the 2024 season, Ladd is probably going to become Justin's best friend. His safety net, his go-to, especially on third downs. That used to be Keenan. It's now going to be this kid. But this kid, unlike Keenan, okay, let's be honest. We all love Keenan. Keenan was probably one of the best route runners ever. Keenan did not have breakaway speed. Keenan caught a lot of passes that he could not break away and score on. McConkey, you give this kid a seam at 4.3 speed, he's taking it to the house, and he's a great receiver. So excellent pick by the Chargers. Getting Joe Alt, protect Herbert, and then getting Herbert a target, and a very reliable target. In the third round, Junior Colson. This was an interesting pick. For me, initially, there was a linebacker on the board that was super intriguing. Peyton Wilson, out of Phillips' old school, alma mater, University of North Carolina, not UNC. I'm drawing a blank. What was Phillips' school? Carolina. He was out of Carolina. I'm drawing a blank. I'll have to fill this in later. But he went to Phillips' old college, and this kid was a stud. He kept falling in the draft, but they were comparing this kid to the likes of Luke Kuechly. The guy was a tackling machine, awesome speed. The reason he kept falling in the draft was he had a lot of injuries in college, and he's literally playing without an ACL. I believe it was in his right knee. And so there was a lot of concern about his longevity in the NFL. Well, he continued to fall, and we could have selected him here at number 3, but ultimately the Steelers picked this kid. So I'm telling you now, keep an eye on this kid. Even if the Steelers get 4 or 5 years out of this kid, that guy, Peyton Wilson, that guy is going to pay huge dividends unless he gets hurt very early in his career. But let's talk about Junior Colson. Junior knows Jesse Minter's system forwards and backwards. And so this is a great pick. And by the way, Junior's exceptionally talented. He's big, he's fast, he's smart. Harbaugh couldn't say enough about him. Mentor clearly pounded the table on getting this kid in his defense to kind of quarterback his defense. There's speculation that he could even wear the green dot in his rookie year. The reality is he might not, simply give him a season to acclimate to the NFL while he knows the system. The NFL is a different animal, and so they may not put the responsibility of calling the defensive plays and wearing the green dot in his rookie year, but don't be surprised if he does, and especially his sophomore year and beyond. So the question is going to be who's wearing the green dot in 2024. Could be Derwin, could be one of the other linebackers, such as Denzel Perryman. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Junior's a huge pickup. Again, young kid, 21 years old. He could be a fixture in the middle of Jesse Minter's defense for years to come. Not to mention, he's going to be able to help get the rest of the defense up to speed. He's going to lift those guys up in helping to translate Minter's defense and all of that coaching to the other players. So Great pickup by the Chargers once again. Right now, rounds 1, 2, and 3, I would say they're batting 1,000, A+ across the board. Yes, I'm a fanboy, and so I'm probably giving him the benefit of the doubt. And we never know how drafts are going to turn out until a couple years down the road. But don't be surprised if those top 3 picks all turn out to be mainstays on the Chargers for years to come. Round 4, Justin Egboibe, defensive tackle out of Alabama. This guy is a big kid. He's got a motor about him. That is the one thing they kept stressing, is this guy has just never quit. He's 6'4", 297 pounds. Let's just round up and call him 300. They say the guy can play the 3 technique, the 5 technique. He can even go out on the end. He's not a traditional nose tackle by any means, but he can rush the passer from the inside or the outside. And so that is something the Chargers needed. They needed to fill the interior defensive line. And so they got a guy from a high caliber school in Alabama who's got a motor about him. So keep an eye on this kid. It's going to be very intriguing to see how he matures into a role, whether it's initially a rotation with guys like Morgan Fox, which, by the way, love the fact that we got Foxy. That guy just gets it done. He's kind of a Damian Square kind of guy. Love Damian Square. The guy just nothing flashy, just produce. And so Justin will probably be on a rotation starting his rookie year, and we'll see what he grows into. Round 5, we had 2 picks in round 5. We ended up picking 2 cornerbacks in round 5, which is awesome because the cornerback room needed some bodies and some talent. Basically, all we had there as far as the most talented member was Asante Samuel Jr. and Zont, as he likes to be called. And so adding a couple bodies to that room is going to be huge, even though we did add the free agent signing Fulton as well. So Tarheeb Steele, cornerback out of Maryland. Tarheeb is, for round 5, is a great pick. This kid is 6 foot tall, 189 pounds. So he's not small. He's got good speed. He's got great coverage skills. The fact that they were to pick him up in round 5 is excellent. Initially, I think he's going to be, he's going to have to play some special teams, and he's going to be working to find a role for himself as a cornerback. Maybe get into nickel or dime package rotations. But is a great addition to the cornerback room. So is Cam Hart, cornerback out of Notre Dame. Cam, 6'3", 202, and he's got speed. So he's big, he's fast, he's got coverage skills. So this kid as well probably is going to work himself in on special teams coverage units initially, which is going to be important with this new kickoff rule. The coverage units are going to be more important than ever. So I could see him being a gunner initially, and maybe, again, getting in on a rotation to nickel or dime package substitute. Round 6, we picked up a running back I was not familiar with whatsoever in Kimani Vidal. This kid is very intriguing. I would not be surprised at all if over the course of the next few years, this guy works himself into a significant role in the backfield. He's 5'8", 213. 5'8", 213 pounds. The guy is a fire hydrant, okay? The defense, they won't be able to see this guy coming from behind the line. And then when he does pop through the hole, He's low and he's big, and his legs are like this. This kid is super, super strong. He's going to be a problem for linebackers to deal with. They're going to start filling holes, and before they can even get their eyes on this kid, he's going to steamroll these guys. I'm really looking forward to watching him run the ball. It's going to be really interesting. He's got a lot of experience in college. The kid literally played in 48 career games at Troy, had over 4,000 yards and 33 touchdowns. Okay. This guy's got some experience. There's some who's saying he might have a little too much tread, already worn off his tires. I suspect that at his size and his strength, he hasn't had any injury issues whatsoever. So it's going to be that experience is going to help him transition to the NFL. But keep an eye on this kid. This kid's super, super intriguing. And the thing is he fits exactly what Harbaugh's looking to do, which is smack you in the mouth over and over and over again. And this kid is absolutely built to smack defenses in the mouth over and over and over again, especially behind a line of 300 pounds, 6'4" to 6'9" offensive linemen, and this guy springing through holes. It's going to be a nightmare for defenses. You watch. This kid's going to be special. Round 7. In round 7, we had 2 picks. Both picks we used on wide receivers. The steal of the draft, Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son. We were able to pick him up in the 7th round. There were people thinking he could go as high as 3 and maybe as low as 4. And he kept falling in the draft. And at this point, I have not heard any good answers why he fell so far in the draft. Regardless, everybody else's bad fortune or mistake is good fortune for the Chargers. The kid knows how to play. He's got speed. He's got size. He's got hands. He may be a little bit rough and not quite, polished like his first round drafted father, but his father is going to and has already instilled a work ethic in the kid, and I think they're going to take it to another level. He said in the press conference after being drafted by the Chargers that his dad was hot, that he fell down all the way into the 7th round, and his dad is going to make sure that he is putting in the extra work to prove everybody that let him fall, to prove them wrong. So watch out for this kid. He's 6'2", 208 pounds. He's got speed. He's got hands. He came out of USC. He wanted to play for the Chargers. He wanted to play for Coach Harbaugh. This could be a match made in heaven, and this kid could be a mainstay out wide for the Chargers for years to come as well. Again, there's a theme here on this draft that people drafted the mindset, the value, the skill set, all of it. And then the other guy we got in round 7, and we don't want to overlook this kid. It's a shame that, he's the last Chargers pick in the draft, and a lot of folks may just kind of gloss over it. But Cornelius Johnson, another Michigan guy. Harbaugh knows this guy through and through. Odds are he's going to start out on special teams. He's going to have to earn a spot on special teams. But this guy's got skills, okay? He easily could have been drafted higher. He is 6'3", 212, okay? So he's a big guy who also has good speed and excellent hands. So don't be surprised if all this new talent in the wide receiver room takes a little while to find their roles because, we still have Josh Palmer and Q. We've got Q, number one pick from last year. We don't know what he's going to be, but he's big and he's fast and he's got skills. His hands are the one issue. And so hopefully he's been working really hard on his hands this offseason. And then what we're going to talk about here shortly is, second round of free agency. So we went from a wide receiver room that was pretty sparse between Palmer, Quentin, Fehoko. Who am I forgetting? I think that's it. And now all of a sudden we've got 3 more receivers in there between McConkey and Rice and Cornelius Johnson. So I think it's an excellent draft. They covered a bunch of positions of need. I think they got tremendous value for each pick, including Joe Alt all the way up at the 5th overall. So I think this is a great first draft for Ortiz and Harbaugh to start to remake the Chargers in their image. And I think it's going to be an exciting season, and preseason in particular, to see all these guys vying for roles. So we got a lot to look forward to here as we roll into the training camp and preseason. But there's still a lot more stuff going on. Since the draft, we entered the second phase of free agency, and the Chargers made a couple key acquisitions and value acquisitions. Number one, we ended up signing DJ Chark, wide receiver from Carolina. This guy made a Pro Bowl, I think it was in 2019. He was a second-round pick in 2018. He's out of LSU, so he comes from a school with wide receiver pedigree. He's fast. He's big. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. So you kind of see a theme there between DJ. Q's that big. Rice is that big. Johnson's that big. But this guy's fast as well. Okay, he had a few injuries that caused him to bounce around a little bit. Now he's with the Chargers. He's with Harbaugh. This guy, he'll make the team, and he is going to provide a threat to stretch the field. And then McConkey with his 4.3 speed, I don't know. They're not going to be able to keep all these receivers. Okay, Fehoko, he's gone right now. Okay, there's no way he's going to compete with all these other bodies in the wide receiver room. But best case scenario, they're keeping 6 wide receivers on the active roster, and that's because of the new kickoff rule and the returner position, that's who I forgot in our wide receiver room, is Darius Davis that we drafted last year, who was our ace return guy. Well, he's now more valuable than ever with this new kickoff rule. So he's going to make the team. They do not want to put McConkey back in harm's way, returning punts and kicks. So Davis is making it. So that leaves 5 guys. Q, McConkey. Okay, so Davis, Q, McConkey. Palmer, he's experienced. He's a veteran. Herbert's got rapport with him. And then Chark, that's 5. Is it Rice? Is it Johnson? It sure isn't going to be Fehoko. So we could see Brendan or Cornelius, these 7th-round rookie wide receivers, potentially end up on the practice squad. So watch that position tremendously. And then just last week, we signed edge rusher from Atlanta, free agent edge rusher Bud Dupree. You guys know that name. That guy was a first-round pick in 2015 by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The guy's big, 6'4". He's fast. He's 270 pounds. And they're bringing him in essentially exclusively to play edge. So we are going to have Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Thule, and now Bud Dupree. 4 guys who can rotate in and play edge, okay, and rush the passer. And so as a minimum on every given play, we're at least going to have 2 talented edge rushers. I mean, Dupree had, 9 sacks last year with Atlanta, in mostly a part-time role. And so on any given play, our defense is going to have 2 stud edge rushers, but there are going to be, in obvious passing downs, you're going to have at least 3 of those guys on the field. I promise you. We were super successful last year when we were able to, and it was pretty rare, but when we were able to have Bosa, Mack, and Thule on the field at the same time, I mean, literally they got sacks at a 25% rate for every one of the plays those 3 guys were on. 1 out of every 4 turned into a sack, and literally 60% were a pressure or a quarterback hit. So watch out. The Chargers are going to be bringing some serious heat. And don't forget, Derwin's a great pass rusher too. And so all of a sudden, the defense is looking very, very formidable and fierce. And if Joey's unable to stay healthy, which has been a problem over the years, we still got 3 guys that can carry the load until he gets back. So not only do we have 4 studs to rotate, but we've got some depth in case of injuries throughout the long 17-game season. So 2 really key signings in the second wave of free agency. Here in a week, June 1st is going to roll around, and that is a critical date for teams who have somebody on their roster that they're going to let go. June 1st is that magic date where now all of a sudden the compensatory picks, those people don't fall into that equation anymore. So you're going to see another wave of players become available. And so don't be surprised if the Chargers pick up another linebacker, maybe a guard or center, even though Bozeman's slated to be center. We're kind of young and don't have a ton of experienced depth on the interior lines. So that's place. Cornerbacks a place. Linebackers a place. We got a lot of places where we could add some experienced veteran depth. So keep an eye on that. And then obviously as we roll into camp and that last wave of cuts when they got to get the rosters down, there's another opportunity there for the Chargers to add 1 or 2 Harbaugh type, lunch pail, hard hat, blue collar thumper type of players. So they're not done yet building this team, but I think we can all see the nucleus that they're trying to build here. And it's exciting. It's exciting. It may not be throw the ball all over the field type of football, but they're going to throw the ball. I mean, you've got Justin Herbert, all right? And one thing I don't hear nearly enough talk about, everybody keeps talking about Greg Roman and running the ball and running the ball and running the ball. And yes, Greg Roman is known for being a fierce OC relative to smash mouth run game. But he also has put together, and nobody gives him credit for this, he's put together some innovative passing game around a run game. But don't forget who is a special assistant / consultant to the Chargers that got hired on, a guy by the name of Mark Trestman. Nobody's talking about Mark Trestman, okay? He doesn't have any coaching responsibilities or any of that. All he gets to do is consult And the guy's a mad scientist for offense. Okay. He's won Grey Cups up in the Canadian Football League where it's nothing but throwing the football. He wasn't a super successful head coach back in Chicago, but that offense, that was a pretty good offense he had there in Chicago. And when he's been an offensive coordinator, he's put together some pretty innovative passing games. So don't sell the Chargers short on their passing game. Mark Trestman is going to work with Greg Roman, and kind of like Harbaugh and Roman were talking about during their little RV interview, they are going to put together a truly, I'm excited for this, if you can't tell, the term I believe they used was diabolical. They are going to put together a diabolical offense. They're going to beat people up, and then they're going to throw the ball, and it's going to be unstoppable. Let's just let it get there. Okay. It's one thing to prognosticate, but I'm seeing the picture come together, what Harbaugh wants to do and all of the pieces. And it could be special. And we could have a lot to cheer for in 2024, which a lot of people aren't giving us, a whole lot of credit for being able to maybe knock the Chiefs off their pedestal. But it could be a lot to really look forward in 2024, but especially in years to come as they continue to remake this team in Harbaugh's image. So buckle up, Chargers fans. What else do we got going on? Rookie minicamp was completed. They're actually doing voluntary OTAs right now with rookies and vets. They've got an excellent turnout. I mean, guys like Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, they're all there. The last OTA wraps up June 11th and 13th, and then they take a break for about 5 or 6 weeks until they all reconvene, and they're supposed to be coming together at the new training facility in El Segundo. They're supposed to be coming together there for the start of training camp, which should be at the end of July. Okay. So it's around the corner. We're going to get a little slow period here, and then training camp's going to be starting end of July. So enjoy the break we're going to get, and we will be back as training camp starts, and we can start looking how the Chargers begin to gel as a team and who's battling who for what available positions. But kind of summarize, team looks stacked, looks like a Harbaugh type of team, hard hat, lunchbox, thumper type of mentality. Just everybody comes to work, works hard as a team. It's, what's Harbaugh say? What's good for the hive is good for the bee. So I don't think we've got any real prima donnas on the team at this point that are me first. It's all team first, and that's going to bode well for the team as we come together in training camp and get ready to kick off 2024. So that's the state of the Bolts at this point. There's a ton to be excited about that we've gone over. A lot of stuff to look forward to as we head into training camp. Possible new free agencies after June 1. Position battles in training camp. Definitely got to keep our eye on that. The offensive and defensive installs. That's going to be very, very interesting. Of course, they're not going to show their full hand when the public's allowed into training camp or in these preseason games. They're going to keep their cards pretty close to their vest. But we should get glimpses of what they're looking to do. And then, of course, in the joint practices and the preseason games. A lot to look forward there. So there you have it, Chargers fans. That is it for another episode of Chargerscast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below in the comments section, or you can email me directly at chargerscast@gmail.com. I would love to get your questions. I'd love to be able to answer them in the comments below. At some point in the future, I would love to get another fan or two on some episodes live and get their opinions, and we can kind of talk back and forth and debate a little bit about the Chargers, where they're going, how they're looking. So please give me your comments, shoot me an email. Love to hear from you guys. This is a fan-based podcast for fans. The only reason I'm doing it is because I'm a huge Chargers fan, have been since 1978. There aren't too many of us old timers, and I don't want to date myself, but you can see the gray in the beard. Old timers that are out here doing these podcasts. Everybody I see, they're younger. None of them have seen a quarterback prior to Phillip Rivers. They didn't see Doug Flutie or Drew Brees, under center. More or less the Stan Humphries, the Moses Marinos, the Jim Harbaughs, the Ryan Leafs, the Dan Foutses, the Mark Malones, and the list goes on, right? So I've watched the Chargers through all of those times, the good, the bad, the ugly, the Ice Bowl, the Marlon McCree freaking drop, the Jacksonville choke job 2 seasons ago under Brandon Staley. And so this is a fan-based Chargers cast for you guys. So I'd love for you guys to participate in it with me. Be sure to like and subscribe below. It's the subscriptions and the likes that are going to allow this podcast to stay here for a long time to come and be here as the Harbaugh era continues to take shape and mature, and hopefully we get a couple Lombardis for the Chargers. That would be awesome. So there you have it. I'm Kirk Brewer, and this is Chargerscast.